So let me begin by thanking my host, Lillian and Geneva Group. Any action in any corner of the world will become successful only when they have many support groups all over the world. It's like we may do something in one corner of India, unless you get support, solidarity support from all over the world, you can't make the kind of impact that you want to make. So Lillian and Geneva support group was great in terms of supporting our work. Across Europe we have support groups. We have ECTA Europe, so Zurich has a group, Geneva has a group, Cologne has a group, we have a group in England, we have a group in Belgium. So all these small groups are giving us solidarity support, various kinds of support. I will come to that later. But I found Geneva group was selling jam the other day. And they were also selling soap. Right? And some of them are selling scarf. So it's very interesting. I mean, how much energy you put into raising small support for people's action in different parts of the world. Because you are not only supporting Ekta Parishad in India, you must be supporting hundreds of groups across the world. So I want to thank you for your kindness and support. Because in Ekta Parishad we don't have many people speaking English. Right? It's a large organization, but then very few people who can articulate things in English. As a result, many of them can't come and thank you for what you are doing. But whenever we meet in India, they always ask me to carry their thanks to all of you for your support. Small support, big support. But this sympathy and affection and love, that is what is basically making social movements to move ahead. Otherwise it is a very depressing situation. So some of you must have read in the newspaper that there was a huge anti-corruption campaign in India. I have just come out of it. I am part of the core group, 22 of us who are coordinating the huge agitation against corruption. See, when freedom came, we thought in course of time everybody will get justice. Everybody will have access to resources. But after 64 years, we found that nothing is reaching out to the poor people. A lot of wealth is being created. India is becoming a superpower. But nothing is reaching to the poor people at the bottom. Huge corruption. When Rajiv Gandhi was Prime Minister, he admitted publicly that when we sent 1 rupee from Delhi, only 15 paise, 15% of that rupee is reaching out to the poor people. 85% is siphoned off by the middleman. Luckily we use the term middleman, we don't call middlewoman. So it's mainly men who take the money away. So we were asking for 3 things. One, we were saying that all that black money parked in tax havens all over the world should be brought back. Right? A lot of money is siphoned off to different parts of the world, which are called the tax havens. We said we need that money back. Second demand was all those government officials who are getting huge amount of money as salary and all the comforts, still misusing government resources should be punished. Whether they are politicians or government officials or judiciary, they should all be punished. And we need a law, we need an act. That was the second demand. And the third demand was, it's not only good that we fight when we have to give bribes, but we should also think in terms of sharing our resources with the poorest people of the country. They should also get justice. So it's a 3-tier struggle. Bring money back, punish people who are misusing the resources of the country, but also see that the resources are going to the poor people in the country. So we haven't succeeded much, but then we are still in the process of fighting. And I know many of you must have watched it in television, you must have read it in the newspaper. So I thought it is good to inform you that finally there are two processes that are happening. One, we call it a Jan Lokpal Bill, an act that will be enacted by the parliament to punish people who are corrupt. It's not an easy thing. So because when the entire country is corrupt, how many people can you punish? So it's a difficult task. But the second information that came is that the government has decided to formulate a policy that will allow the poor people to have access over land and livelihood resources. I will come to that later. That is the important agenda around which my presentation is going to be. What you saw in the film was the beginning, when we began the struggle for asking the government to formulate a policy in the interest of the poor. Now, because that is not happening, we are planning to have a second round of action. So I want to explain to you that. But the question generally is that why are we together? Right? In Geneva, we are all together today evening because I think we are all very concerned about the issue that there are millions of people across the globe, even today, in a so-called civilized world, who are left behind, who are still waiting for some support. And they are asking for small things. When I go to an Indian village, they are asking for, somebody will say that, can we get some firewood to cook our food? Right? Firewood. In order to cook food. Because you want to get into the forest and take some firewood, you need to bribe the government officer who is protecting the forest. So how do you cook your food? You can't go to the market to buy firewood because it's very expensive. You go to another village, a person will say, look, can I find some work? God has given me this body, 2 hands, 2 legs. Can I use it to fill my stomach? Work is not available because mechanization has become very big. Everything will be done with machines. Gandhi was fighting against it. Gandhi was propagating an idea of production by masses and not mass production. Don't produce mass scale production by using machine, by making people useless. That was not what Gandhiji wanted. So people will say, can I get some work? You go to a village, an ordinary woman will say that, can we get some water? Because I have to walk 2 kilometers to get water to cook. Is there a way that I can get some water in my village? So very small demands. You know, India became free back in 1947. Now after 64 years, still people are waiting that the decision makers and policy makers sitting in Delhi will someday think about us. I remember an old incident in my life. I thought I should tell you this today. This was the days when I began my work in the villages. I went to a village and I told them that, look, there is a new technology that is a smokeless furnace. You understand? For cooking, there is a new equipment called smokeless furnace. If you use firewood and cook, a lot of smoke will come. So smokeless furnace was introduced. So I went to the village and I called everybody and gave a big speech that here is a new technology called smokeless furnace. All of us should buy it. You can protect your eyes, etc. Then an old woman stood up and said, Rajagopal, I have a smokeless furnace in my house. I said, that is impossible. This is a new technology. And I have come to the village for the first time to tell you that there is a new technology and you are telling that I have a smokeless furnace at home. I don't believe it, I said. She said, my boy, that is what she said, my boy. My boy, do you know how smoke comes? I said, yes. When you put the firewood in your cooking place and lit the fire, the smoke will come. Then she said, "You must be a new social worker." a stupid social worker, she said. See, I have nothing to cook, so there is no smoke. So I have a smokeless furnace. What don't you understand? Right? So people like me who became social workers are very far away from reality. So my Prime Minister, they are all very, very far. I am far, so they are very far. They don't really understand the village reality. What is this woman asking? Firewood, water, some amount of rice, need to work, etc., etc. So I think, in spite of all that education and civilization that we keep speaking about, we haven't yet understood what people at the bottom level, at the ground level, are asking for. And that is a fight all about. When I say we have a non-violent struggle against the state and decision making, etc., this is not directed against anybody, not against any party. It is basically to say that you haven't yet learned to listen to the voices of the poor people of the country. And this is not an Indian problem. It's a problem in Bangladesh, this is a problem in Philippines, it is a problem in Kenya, it is a problem in Brazil, all over the world. The decision makers and policy makers sitting in the ivory tower, in air-conditioned rooms, in the United Nations office, they have difficulty to understand what the ordinary people are asking for. They are not asking for Taj Mahal. They are not asking for a, what is that car? Rolls Royce. Right? They are not asking for a laptop. They are just asking for a piece of land so that I can produce enough food for my family, so my children can go to school after some food. I don't have to migrate to Punjab and Kashmir to fill my stomach. Please give me a piece of land. Is that too big a demand? Such a simple demand. That please give me a piece of land so that I don't have to migrate. I can produce some food in my village. I can send my children to school, and slowly, when my children are educated, I can move from agriculture to something else. Please allow me to have a gradual move from agriculture to something else. Don't force me into the slums of Bombay and Delhi. This is all what people are asking. And such a small thing is not understood. Why should 25,000 people walk to Delhi for this small message? Why should I again put all my efforts into getting 100,000 people together to walk to Delhi for this simple message? That give me a piece of land so I can make a living, so that you can live happily in your town and I can live happily in my village. What is now happening in countries like India? We have created very ugly cities and very ugly villages. Some of you who have traveled to Delhi and Bombay can understand. We have created an ugly city. If it is a beautiful city, I will not complain. So, ultimately, in the name of development, we have created ugly cities and ugly villages. And this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable to anyone who say, I follow Mahatma Gandhi. That's my problem. Because I follow Mahatma Gandhi, I've done a bit of study about Mahatma Gandhi and his philosophy. We are sitting in Mahatma Gandhi room, right? This is not acceptable to us. That how do you accept that the small demands of poor people will not be met after 64 years of freedom? So what is happening in India? Let me give you an overall picture. Never before technology and capital came so close. Because of globalization, technology is moving in from all parts of the world. Capital is also moving in from all parts of the world. And when technology and capital come together, they need to act. They need to act in terms of taking raw material to process and create capital. This is the role of technology and capital coming together.